Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to welcome to this panel on grid-scale storage, how battery technologies can turbocharge the energy transition. My name is Alessandro Zampieri. I'm a partner at BCG in the Middle East office, focusing on climate and sustainability and decarbonization solutions. I will be moderating this session today, and I'm joined here on stage by our 5 distinguished speakers. We have Julia Souder, CEO of the LDES Council, Dr. Sankara Subramanian, Utility Market Leader at SAFT TotalEnergies, Atul Choudhary, CTO, Tata Consulting Engineer, Gyanesh Choudhary, Chairman and MD at Vikram Solar, Srivatsan Iyer, CEO of Hero Future Energies. As the world accelerates towards a clean energy future, the role of energy storage has become critical to balance the intermittencies of renewable power and provide flexibility and resiliency to the grid. During the recent COP29, over 100 nations and organizations committed to deploy 1.5 terawatts of energy storage by 2030 in the grid. With costs dropping rapidly, grid storage lithium-ion battery yearly installations have grown to roughly 170 gigawatt hours globally, with projects larger in size and duration. Over the past months, we have seen record-breaking costs from tenders in China and India. In the UAE, Masdar announced just a month ago a 1 gigawatt fully dispatchable 24/7 PV plus battery project with the potential to be competitive with gas power by 2027. The pace at which lithium-ion technologies are progressing was unthinkable just a few years ago. But energy storage is not only lithium-ion. Long-duration energy storage solutions, and Julia is here to speak about that today, provide intraday, multi-day, or intra-week and seasonal storage durations. Some of these solutions can help store heat in addition to power, which is crucial to decarbonizing industrial processes. According to a recent study by BCG, there are more than 160 companies, mostly startups, working in the LDES space, and close to $5 billion in venture capital have been invested globally over the past 3 years. LDES solutions are opening up new opportunities for utilities and customers as technologies move rapidly from R&D projects to first-of-a-kind plants to commercial-scale installations. With the help of our esteemed panelists today, we will explore the opportunities but also the challenges that will define the future of grid-scale storage in India, covering aspects such as policy, market dynamics, technology and supply chain, and more. Without further ado, we do have actually a quite packed agenda for today. Let's dive into our panel. And I would like to start with a quick round of intro from all the panelists. We can start from the left to the right. Just 1 minute speaking about yourself, and then 1 minute to speak about your organization.
Very good. Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to participate in the panel. I'm Sri Iyer, CEO of Hero Future Energies. We are a renewable energy company with about little more than 2.2 gigawatts of operational renewable energy capacity, primarily solar and wind. Operations in India, Vietnam, and Ukraine. Over the last 12, 18 months or so, we've added almost a little more than 5 gigawatts of capacity in terms of tenders that we won. And 100% of those have been tenders that integrate solar, wind, and battery storage because of the requirements of trying to provide, I'm going to use the word loosely, dispatchable power, though it's not truly dispatchable. And so battery storage is going to be an integral part of our growth going forward. And so that's who we are in a nutshell.
Thank you. Julia?
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Julia Souder. I'm the CEO of the Long Duration Energy Storage Council. We're a global organization in 22 countries with a diverse membership, really promoting the entire ecosystem of utilities, equipment manufacturers, financiers, customers, developers, and bankers to really highlight that every single part of our global economy and local communities need long-duration energy storage. So we're driving innovations in the 4 families of long-duration storage: the thermal, the rocks, the salts, the recycled metals, to the chemical, hydrogen, ammonia, and to the electrochemical. So batteries, not just lithium-ion, but the zinc, the vanadium, the organic chemistries, magnesium, the whole diverse world that exists on electrochemicals for many hours. 10 hours, 24 hours, 100 hours, and even seasons. And then thermal energy storage that you mentioned, for the heat, for industry, steam, and cooling, to provide that high temperature from anywhere from 100 degrees Celsius to 2,000 degrees Celsius. So being part of the green cement and green steel industry. As we're working on promoting many of these technologies that are already commercial, we want to scale them and work with many governments on creating policies that open up more markets and really create the financial incentives so that the benefits of long duration storage, whether it's grid stability, dispatchability, 24/7, round the clock, power, heat, we're able to provide this. And again, it's working with all of you to really build on the leadership that's occurring in India and many other countries to expand the marketplace, because we need 8 terawatts of long duration storage to meet the 11 terawatts that are committed to by over 190 countries. And we need, if we do this, we'll have $540 billion US annually that comes back to the economy, again, annually. So the savings is huge. So you really are advancing the awareness, but really working with our partners and our members to create tenders, RFPs, and policy directives to support this marketplace.
Thanks, Julia. Hi all, I'm Sankara. I'm the utility market leader for SAFT batteries based out of Paris. SAFT belongs to the TotalEnergies group, and SAFT by themselves are an 100 years experienced battery manufacturers producing time-critical and mission-critical products and solutions over many decades. And in 2005, SAFT diversified into renewables as well as into the utility sectors, producing the 20-foot containers, what you call as the standalone utility scale containers. And SAFT has been producing these batteries for various developer side application as well as on the grid side applications, ranging from less than 30 minutes to up to 8 hours products and solutions. Now, the chemistry that we use is LFP based, which is both characteristics of power and energy characteristics, and you can use depending on the application. And much of those applications that we are going to talk about as well today, we would see falling as well within this regime. We also see that battery manufacturers are pushing the contours beyond these 8 hours. We'll see how this game pans out too. Thank you.
Hi, thanks. My name is Atul Choudhary. I am Chief Technology Officer at Tata Consulting Engineers. We at Tata Consulting Engineers provide pure play engineering services to various sectors, including the power sectors. We have been working since long on the grid scale energy storage systems. I've been providing services to Indian as well as global industry, working on large gigawatt storage projects and giving the complete life cycle solutions, starting with the DPRs to basic engineering. Main element is, of course, the technology selection. This is a new energy market area. This is an evolving area wherein we come across evaluating the various recent technologies, upcoming technologies, and providing recommendations to our customers. We look forward for a very resilient and very sustainable energy future. So we will discuss upon more aspects of this grid scale energy storage in this session.
Thank you. I'm the other Chaudhary on the panel, Gyanesh Choudhary. I'm the chairman and managing director of Vikram Solar. Vikram Solar is probably the oldest solar manufacturer in India, last 2 decades. Always wondered how to solve the problem of intermittency in solar power, considering it's only available during the daylight hours. Battery energy storage has always been a dream, not just for India, but globally, considering the change in technologies as well as the frequent, the costs going skyrocketing because of lack of availability of precious metals and important components for the sector. But what we see today is there's a drastic change. What solar was 2 decades ago, battery energy storage is there today, at the cusp of changing how we look at energy, how do we generate it, consume it, how do we, how does it impact daily lives. Vikram Solar is foraying into energy storage manufacturing as well, and very excited to be on this panel to discuss more on this subject.
Thank you, GC. So let's start with the first question. Why is grid storage essential for the future of clean and resilient energy system? What are the drivers and what role can it play? So Sankara, Atul, why don't you help us answer this question for the audience?
Thanks for putting me in the spot. Thank you. And I think in order to discuss this question, I think we need to look at the axioms of the challenges that the grid faces because of the integration of these variable resources. There are 4 key points, or the challenges, so to say, and those will be the drivers for the solutions too, what they actually result in terms of problems. So less dispatchable generation, meaning the ratio of dispatchable to non-dispatchable resources is actually reducing. And what that means is going to have problems with both in terms of voltage and frequencies. Of course, we have the frequency services established, but more so with other type of frequency issues. I'll stop there, and then perhaps when we get an opportunity, we can expand on that. And then the second type is more asynchronous generations, which are going to be connected to the grid. What this means is that you're going to see much less of mechanical mass in the grid. May not be much affected for countries like India, but it will happen with the mix increasing in terms of renewables. So that leads to lesser inertia in the grid, and there is going to be issues there. We already see in many countries. The third one would be that because of the nature of this variability of these generations now, we see a lot of new services which are picking up in countries like in France, Belgium, Texas, etc. Is the capacity services, basically what we call as the non-spinning reserves, and that needs are getting increasing, and innovations are happening there. The fourth would be that the main type of challenges. So I'm saying the challenge as well as the problems. Perhaps the solutions can be discussed later. In terms of the fourth one, because these type of generators are further away from the load centers, mostly with the distribution grids or the subtransmission grids, so to say, in India, maybe at 132 kV levels and etc. There is congestion, and we see it a lot happening in elsewhere. So we know congestion is a problem, new problem. It was there, but then energy shifting over time and space will become mandatory. This is something which to be bear in mind. Curtailment, countries are paying huge costs for curtailing the renewables. That doesn't add up, actually. Inertia, of course, there were some classical real-life examples where batteries came online. So we'll expand on that.
Awesome. Thank you. Atul?
Yeah, I mean, grid scale energy storage is very crucial for future clean and resilient energy systems because it addresses the inherent variability of the renewable energy power generation systems such as wind and solar. And as the global energy transition proceeds and further accelerates, it's very essential to plug the gap between the demand and supply. So the variability needs to be given the some sort of residence time or the storage. As far as the drivers for the battery energy storage are concerned, in India it is very multifaceted. First, there is clearly a demand and supply gap when during the peak hours. So this gap must be bridged by the way of some sort of storage, say battery energy storage. Second, India is committed to the reduction in their carbon footprint under the Paris Agreement, and we must look for some alternatives of peaking the power generation demand, which is right now coming from the thermal or coal-based power systems. Third, we would say that government is also providing a lot of support in terms of policies, national energy storage mission or production-linked incentives for battery manufacturing. These all things is making the accessibility and efficiency and cost reductions and making the battery energy storage as more and more things. Based on all this infrastructure development is also packing up. We are seeing a lot of developments coming up in India very recently. NTPC REL has also issued a tender of 10,000 megawatt hour or 1 gigawatt hour storage energy storage system. And as these energy systems evolve together, the grid scale battery energy storage system is going to play a very pivotal role to create a flexible, sustainable, and resilient energy future.
Thank you, Atul. Julia, a question for you. So much of the discussion revolves around lithium-ion batteries. But of course, you're here to talk about long duration energy storage systems. So we want to understand why are LDES solutions so critical to the grid?
Great question. And building upon the points that were just raised, long duration energy storage, again, has those four families you can pull from, so that diversity and technologies can really meet local needs of different communities. And the different durations from 8 hours to 100 hours to seasonal also provides different categories and different benefits to different industries. Lithium ion can kind of bridge. We have some members that do lithium ion for 6 to 8 hours, but it gets really costly. And lithium ion cannot provide all the ancillary services that are needed. Long duration storage can provide inertia. It can provide frequency response, load following, black start capability, but it needs these market components to really give the value so that investors will invest more, so the payback is there. So we're working on bringing more of the benefits to the markets to expand upon. Another thing about why long duration storage is so critical is that, there are already commercialized projects. It's really that they need to scale. As it took 10 years to bring solar prices down, it's taken 5 years to bring prices down in long duration storage, and it will continue to drop because the need is global and growing exponentially. What's also a big part of building on the momentum of what we learned in short duration, but really expanding it to long duration to give us that around the clock and dispatchable baseload power, is the fact that standards and mandates work. So India supported the 1.5 terawatts of energy storage. We also need 1 terawatt of long duration energy storage with thermal and power. And what's proving this is that India's leadership is really advancing this, because in India, you hear terawatts being spoke about and actually gigawatts being built. Only one other country in the world is gigawatts, and that's China. So this competition is also helping expand marketplaces. And just a couple of areas to give examples, the agricultural industry is using long duration storage today to help with green steam and heat. We have members who are also deployed in the fertilizer industry, capturing waste heat. So again, there's lots of benefits of long duration storage to use wind and solar and keep them online. When the sun has gone down and the wind has stopped blowing, long duration storage can keep that clean power heat for days, months, and years at very high efficiencies. So this is a game changer, and this is why it was such a critical part as a catalyst to the transition, providing that resiliency, flexibility, security, and reliability.
Thank you, Julia. Gyanesh, Shri, how do you see the evolving role of batteries in the India's energy transition, especially with increasing renewable energy integration in the grid?
So India's got a stated target of getting to about 500 gigawatts of renewable energy by 2030. So we're talking sometime over the next 5 years. And I think the other speakers, Shankar already mentioned, what are the implications of putting or changing the ratio of what I call intermittent versus non-intermittent. It's a huge technology challenge. And so I think by estimates, we need about 400 gigawatt hours of battery to accompany this 500 gigawatt of renewable energy. So there's two things with that. One is we all think of intermittency of solar and wind as 8 hours of solar. It's actually a minute-by-minute intermittency. Clearly, 8 hours is a macro look, but literally when there's a cloud that goes by, you can lose a fairly significant part of your generation. So to manage that level of volatility, you're going to have to look for technology solutions. Number two is a lot of the renewable energy infrastructure that's been built in India has been built in what I call a centralized model, right? Large renewable energy rich states, Rajasthan, Gujarat, for example, and the entire evacuation infrastructure is essentially used 8 hours a day. So a more effective use of that infra is to integrate storage going forward, that we're using the infra hopefully for more than just 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day, what have you. And thirdly, I think the biggest criticism of renewable energy globally has been, we do say from the industry, we are the lowest cost of power in the world, right? 3 cents for solar, 3.5, 4 cents for wind. However, on a 24-hour basis, it's not the cheapest, right? Because you've got to figure out what to do for the other 16 hours when there's no solar and wind. But with battery prices dropping, I would actually say even on a dispatchable basis, it's very likely that renewable energy could be the cheapest form of new energy generation rather than new build thermal. And so I think these are probably 3 reasons why I think India is going to have to rely in a large way on integrating new storage. I'm not going to use the word battery storage. I'm going to be indifferent here, but I think we're going to have to integrate almost 400 gigawatts, if not more, of storage going forward.
Thank you. Gyanesh?
My answer is slightly rhetorical. I think the world has been actively moving towards decarbonization. In spite of some policies changing or taking shape differently, I think India primarily has been a frugal nation in terms of how we look at energy costs. Solar, the largest deployment of solar happened in the last 5 years, where solar costs have seen almost a 90% correction. And rightly so. The adoption has been phenomenally greater because of those reasons. We see the similar trend happening in BESS technologies now, whereas in 2020, solar BESS was at about 10 lakhs a kilowatt hour. Today we see it less than 4.5 lakhs. The round-the-clock projects have seen a significant price benefit. I think all of this leads to the fact that while India needs to deploy a phenomenal amount of renewable energy, as you said rightly, the way to go about it is going to be with BESS technology. Without that, I think the decarbonization does not quite work. However, we see a lot of challenges till today in terms of stability, reliability, longevity, size, as well as mitigation of imports. In India specifically, we see there's a huge dependence on critical minerals and materials coming in from external sources, which is not just a huge burden on the exchequer, but also creates dependencies in the ecosystem, which I have personally seen in solar and have not really benefited the domestic deployment. So we need to spend more efforts on creating a domestic ecosystem, building policies. The PLI policy that has come through for advanced batteries storage systems is a good move in that respect. But many such things like cathode active material, anode active material based policies that is going to drastically enhance the domestic ecosystem, which will bring the cost down, thus improve deployment.
Yeah, and we'll speak about policies and supply chain in the next few minutes. But
Right.
before we get there, let's talk about technology and innovation. So Atul, what are the most promising battery technologies for grid scale applications, and what kind of innovations are we seeing out there? What can we expect to happen over the next 3 to 5 years?
There are several emerging technologies. As of now, if you look, the lithium-ion batteries is the most favored. This is because of their faster response time, higher energy density, or the continuously falling prices. So that has been very proven and commercially matured technology that is being implemented, you will see everywhere else. But we need to look for several other alternate technologies. To name a few, I would say that the vanadium-based redox flow batteries is one of the technology for a long duration energy storage. There is a sodium-ion battery. You should look for the solid electrolyte batteries are going to be a transformational one in the coming future. Also, zinc-based batteries, zinc air, zinc ion kind of the batteries, they are also now started at the good commercial maturity levels. If you want to see the life cycle scale or the cost of their operation or their efficiencies, you need to evaluate a lot of parameters based on their applications. Say, for example, lithium ion batteries, if the cost is X, efficiency is about 85-95%, its cycle time is somewhere close to, say, 3,000 to 5,000 cycles. And when you compare it with the vanadium based or any other redox flow batteries, its cycle time is almost double. It's 10,000 plus cycles, but the cost of it is also double. It comes as almost the similar efficiency of about 85%, 75 to 85% of the efficiency. And sodium batteries is the one where a lot of research is going on. It's a very promising technology. The metal is available in abundance. You will have less reliance on the lithium supply chains. Plus, it is treated to be more safer, having good energy densities, and currently it is having efficiencies at par, about 85-90% of the efficiencies. Its cycle time is currently low, about say 2000, 3000 cycles is the lifetime. A lot of research is going on onto the sodium ion batteries to make it more commercial. And the solid electrolyte battery, what I said, is going to be transformational, is at very early stage. This is having application again for the long duration storage applications, having fantastic scalability. You can scale it to any level. Cycles are 10,000 plus. Theoretical efficiencies are estimated to be about 95%. Commercial applications we do not know as of now. But this is going to be the safer batteries compared to the lithium ion batteries. Not to forget the zinc, that is an upcoming thing, though there are not many commercial installations. But in coming future, we were saying the zinc batteries also for good energy density, longer life cycles, having good scalability. But this is currently having slightly lower efficiencies, say about 60% to 75% is the efficiency. Not to forget about the hydrogen in this whole chain. I mean, hydrogen electrolyzers plus the fuel cell based hybrid systems to support this. There is no one single solution or one single battery technology going to support the entire application range, and we always recommend to go for the life cycle cost analysis based on the technology maturity level, based on the availability. And in coming future, we are see a lot of mix of these technologies getting implemented.
Thank you, Atul. Julia, do you want to add something on that? I mean, you work with dozens of long-duration energy storage companies. What is some of the exciting technologies and innovation you see out there?
There are a lot of exciting technologies and innovations that we both highlighted too. I think one other point we note in our annual report that's on our website really demonstrates the range in asset life. Some of these long duration energy technologies are 20-year asset life, some are 40, some are 50s. Pumped hydro, 100 years. So you definitely, again, have that diversity of technologies. And again, that diversity is so critical because of the different needs. It's really impressive to see the conversation that just happened in France with Prime Minister Modi and many leaders from around the world coming together to discuss data centers and the hyperscalers and how artificial intelligence is really building on supply-demand component, and why long-duration energy storage is so critical as not just a cornerstone to a key component, it's actually essential to the reliability and security of this. So we need to have the liquid air, the compressed air, the pumped hydro, the different types of batteries, the different types of thermal energy storage to provide that heat and cooling aspect. It's really important. We have technologies in addition to the zinc and the vanadium and the magnesium and the iron. There are technologies that are taking carbon or graphite. They're taking, recycled bricks, rocks. So again, it's looking at sustainable materials that are really inexpensive and very environmentally friendly to really bring to the marketplace. Two more things. This builds on need, and I think in addition to the supply-demand piece, it's also exciting to see more and more contracts being signed. So here in India, MPTC just signed a deal with Energy Dome. They hold carbon in this dome and then use a turbine generator to just kind of then move the energy out back and forth, and it can make it hot or cold. So this is just a very simple tool that we're building off technologies that have been around for decades and now deploying them. And that's one example. And we're going to see a lot more coming forward. But again, that diversity is really important. And again, a lot of these technologies have been in the marketplaces and commercially available. They just have to scale. So we have to move from that megawatt to gigawatt to terawatt factor.
Thank you, Julia. Question for you, Sri. What are the most viable business models for integrating battery storage with renewables and optimize reliability and costs? And maybe what are some key elements of bankable renewable plus storage or storage loan projects?
Yeah, so the Indian market, electricity market's evolving fairly rapidly. Today, if you were to look at it, there's two broad categories. There's a utility market and there's a commercial industrial market. On the utility side, it's mainly driven by tenders that are floated by governments, either the central level or the state level. And increasingly, what we are seeing is that a large fraction of the recent tenders have been integrated bids where you integrate either solar, wind, and battery storage, or just solar and battery storage, or standalone battery storage. In fact, one of the regulatory policy decisions that have been made is that there's going to be an energy storage obligation, just like the RPO in India, which is a renewable purchase obligation. So from a policy standpoint, it's being driven. And so from a business model standpoint, the utility is going to be driven by how the government tenders shape up in the future. The interesting evolutions that we are kind of looking forward to is how do you kind of move to providing new types of services using batteries that are more common, I'd say, in Europe and the US, for example, capacity markets, ancillary services, peak shifting, and so on. There'd have to be a few more regulatory changes for that. For example, one critical part of enabling that could be, moving to a time of day pricing in India broadly, rather than the way it is today, which is a flat pricing. So you need market signals as well to provide the economic incentive and the rationale to do it. On the commercial industrial, I think the rationale is very similar. Today, a lot of the commercial industrial who buy renewable energy are in states that allow quote unquote banking of power, right? So you can bank across a month, for example. So the economic incentive to move to batteries is fairly low, because you can provide 24-hour power by just banking excess renewable energy capacity. And that is changing now because, again, of the difference in tariff between peak and non-peak hours. So if a time of day tariff is again introduced, I'd see the commercial industrial sector moving fairly rapidly to saying, integrate renewable energy with battery storage, and that would be bankable based on the fact that there's offtake agreements or PPAs signed with the customers. And so I really look forward to that happening on a large scale, because today the battery storage in India is driven purely by the utility sector. And hopefully with these regulatory changes, we can start to see the commercial industrial sector move towards using renewable energy with storage as well.
Thank you, Sri. Sankara, what new grid services provided by batteries could support the Indian power grids, and how do you foresee value creation for utilities and customers?
Yeah, so I think it's a key thing. So what are the areas that we could address support with batteries? So I would actually split that into two parts. One is this renewable developer side of it, and on the renewable developer side, I think co-locating with batteries is very well established in India. That is for the purposes of energy shifting, right? That's set aside. Now, to the grid specifically, we know that the transmission system is well integrated, interconnected grids. Okay, transmission is very well moving, at least in the last 15-20 years as I see it. Then comes the real problems in the distribution areas, distribution grids where there is a losses in the system, and I think they are incurring losses after losses for the state electricity boards, as I see that, and therefore there are specific areas for supporting the distribution grids with batteries for war supports. That's number one. Number two, again, there is congestion. That's why you see frequencies going down and voltages dipping and so on. And therefore, you could actually transpose the models such as the energy shifting over space, what we call as the virtual transmission line. You don't need to lay any distribution lines, but you can actually have it at one end or both ends. Then you can call it even as a grid booster support. Now, you could also actually value stack those applications, but focusing on what areas. So one is the war support for the distribution grid. The second is exactly for distribution as well as for sub-transmission grids. You would need for congestion with battery supports, what we call as the preventative congestion as well as the curative congestions. We can do that part. And then the third would be very key for the industries also to contribute towards the decarbonization. I think industries, we have large industries in India, Reliances and all of those, and the dependence on DGs can be reduced by having in-house microgrids. Now, microgrids parallelly has to play a key role in India. So, reduction of losses, second being the congestion contribution, and the third is microgrids. If I may actually add as an complementary to this, then of course in some areas where there is also inertia weaknesses we are seeing, because in India you see 1,500 PMUs. what they call as the phasor measurement units laid across the grids. So they can actually measure those frequencies, and then in weaker points, actually, they can have inertia supports as well. But the three key are very important. India doesn't have to wait for transformations to happen. They can start right away.
Thank you. Gyanesh, what are the major challenges in scaling up grid scale storage, and how can companies navigate these challenges, particularly here in India?
So a couple of things. I think the first big challenge is technology and the adoption. There are a lot of different technologies at play here, and for a large deployment, one needs to be very clear as to which technology is going to see the light of day eventually. Currently, India has less than 200 kilowatt hour of deployment, and it's going to go up to, as Shri said, 400 gigawatt, which is a phenomenal jump over the next years. The energy density still is at 400 watt hour per kg approximately, which is rather low. So to be able to figure out technologies which are better in energy density as well as safety. We talk about decarbonization, but if we put complicated material which is carcinogenic and non-biodegradable or non-renewable, that becomes a very big challenge. Initial higher cost is another one. I think we still are faced with certain optimizations which are due in this technology space, where we see large-scale deployment happening by optimization. I already talked about supply chain and localization, so that's another one of the very important aspects. Shri also talked about the grid infrastructure. I think we need to ensure that there is adequate offtake and sustainable grid infrastructure to interact and integrate with the energy storage systems, because these are live systems which need to have certain load base. The final thing for me is skill development, and that's a part of the ecosystem point. But in India, to be able to deploy large scale solar and renewable battery systems, we need a phenomenal workforce. That formidable army will drive not just innovation but also deployment. And for those reasons, we need to develop education systems to provide for these capabilities.
Thank you, Gyanesh. Julia, we spoke about policies and how they can support sector development. I know we're running a bit behind time, but if we can do that in a minute and a half, speak about what policies could support LDES deployment in India.
I'm really excited about this, thanks, because there's so much happening around the world. So quickly, there are 5 tools that are really important. So building off the carbon-free energy power purchase agreements, around the clock, that's a really powerful tool. Targets are a powerful tool. Hybrid planning, so you capture storage as a transmission asset or generation or distribution. Storage can do all of that. And then also just the criteria for the markets, really, again, pulling in those ancillary services. So which countries are doing this? Australia created an investment capacity scheme to really promote long-duration energy storage and phase in the technologies over time so that there be that certainty, but also the bankability components to really continue to build and scale. United Kingdom created a cap and floor market so that there is a protection mechanisms for both the customer and the developer. Chile created a new market by changing their constitution to support energy storage, again, to address the enormous amount of money they were losing in annual curtailment. We also saw changes in Italy with their RFPs to really promote the diversity of durations that they needed to address their markets, both on and off grid. And also, the Philippines has a market where LDES can participate in 4 different market areas, and really highlighting the criteria and working with the utilities on what those tenders look like. And lastly, most importantly, in India, it's been quite impressive to work with the government, both at the federal level and with the states, to pull in energy storage goals. And really happy to be working with the state of Gujarat and the utilities there on a first-of-a-kind long-duration energy storage RFP that you'll see in the next couple of weeks to, again, really merge the economy and the government's policies with the developers and benefits of long-duration storage. So these are phenomenal components, and we're looking forward to amplifying the leadership in India to the rest of the world.
Thank you, Julia. Atul, one last question on supply chain. There are clearly supply chain risks with concentration of the supply chain coming from China, mostly for lithium-ion batteries. How can the industry sort of mitigate the risks of supply chain and create resiliency there?
Yes, this is a interesting and a very big question that has been hampering the industry as to how you are reducing your reliance on lithium imports and how do you find an sustainable solution and still making this grid energy scale storage possible. There are various strategies rolled together that we need to look into account, and no one single quick fix is possible to answer this supply chain problem. Very quickly, what I can think is the one continuous material innovations. So the technologies need to look for an alternative chemistries as the battery energy storage solution evolves further. More and more battery chemistries will come, as we have said now, sodium ion batteries or other electrolyte based batteries or solid electrolyte batteries, zinc batteries. So you need to look for some alternate feasible chemistries that will reduce the reliance on the lithium ion batteries, giving you the same performance at the same costs as well. So those are the one of the technological R&D area challenges where the industry as a whole needs to work into that. Second important element is an circularity. There has to be definitely second life thoughts after use of say EV batteries. You can repurpose it for use of the stationary purpose. The advanced technologies such as direct cathode regeneration, hydrometallurgical processes, those needs a further attention and a good deployment so that the valuable materials can be extracted and you lower the burden on the import policies and certain like that. Third is, of course, coming up in India is all the gigafactories at localized regions, reducing reliance on imports from other countries and developing the supply chains based on the locally available materials. With the recircularity, technological innovation, and the battery chemistries coming into picture, all three together will help in the near future to solve this supply chain problem too little bit.
Thank you, Atul. So we are almost at the closing remarks. I would like to start from the left to the right, get each of you to spend a minute roughly to talk about maybe what are the one or two key elements and actions that would be critical to accelerating energy storage adoption in India, and how can India play a leading role in this industry? So,
Yeah, I think two things, and I'll even refer to what some of the other panelists mentioned. First is supply chain, and when I talk about supply chain, it's the entire supply chain. So it's not just on a module at a pack level, it's the components that go into individual cells, right? And so we need to get beyond just assembling components based on imported materials to integrating the supply chain all the way back to the most fundamental element of storage elements. The second is regulatory support. Power is a concurrent subject governed both at the federal level and at the state level. And what we really want is to see that there's coherence and continuity at those to make sure that, because I think there was a discussion that India is a single grid. And so what we really need is coherence and continuity and uniformity of policy and regulatory support so that energy storage, I'm not talking about batteries, can be integrated in a more effective fashion.
thank you, Sri. Julia?
Sure. So successful adaptation and adoption of LDES technologies needs two things: clear and consistent policies and continual public and private partnerships for the financing. Calling two things for action. One, a long duration energy storage target in India would be very powerful, and it would really build and kind of be a cohesion with the renewables energy target and decarbonization goals, as well as continue to build on the leadership in Gujarat with the tenders for long duration energy storage, seeing more states take this on.
I see world is moving away from the historic construct of base load and peaking to the future and today's future of what you say as the variable generation and then firming. And this is where flexibility comes into play. And BESS plays a larger role in flexibility. Now, two key areas where India need not have to wait for any regulatory approvals and so on is India is very well doing with the energy shifting over time when integrated with the renewables. India must also do energy shifting over space in the grid sector, and this is they can avoid the losses. The second thing is microgrids. There is a large opportunity for microgrids across the industry at length. So these are the two key.
Thank you.
I mean, innovation is definitely going to be the key going for the future. Sustainability is no more a buzzword, it's going to be a reality. Need to look for sustainable chemistries. Sustainable future innovation should happen at a very rapid pace. It is not only related to the battery chemistries, but the way we manufacture it, the digital technologies, the integration related technologies. All these rapid innovations will definitely play a crucial role in enhancing and accelerating the grid scale battery energy storage systems.
I think what happened with the government of India with respect to green hydrogen, we are still far away from the unit cost target of $1, but the thrust on innovation leads to a lot of cost optimization and knowledge sharing. I feel that I'm a big fan of solid state, and I feel like what Atul just said. We're spending a lot of dollars, millions of dollars creating LFP technology-based manufacturing systems, but I feel we need to do more, capture more frontiers to manage solid state. Three acronyms to close: PLI, ESO, as well as LCR. PLI is what we need in India to set up large manufacturing infrastructure. ESO, energy storage obligation. I think the utilities and discoms must commit to energy storage as a policy rather than an option. And the third one is I'm a big fan of domestic content, so local content obligation, which creates a good ecosystem. So all three. Thank you.
Thank you all. I would like to thank our panelists for sharing their perspective today on the challenges and opportunities of the energy storage industry in India. Please join me in a round of applause for them. And I wish you all a great continuation at the India Energy Week. Have a nice day.